Call of Duty Warzone Season 3 just launched last week, so I thought it would be a perfect time to pair this super budget gaming PC with yet another ZTT Gaming challenge. This time, I'm gonna be shooting for a Warzone top 5 finish, top 10 maybe? I don't really know. I absolutely hate Warzone with a passion. I think it's safe to say that I'm the exact opposite person that should be trying out a Warzone gaming challenge, especially with a super budget gaming PC like this one, which I'm about to show you. But with the success of last week's challenge, I gotta just ride this momentum out and see if we can tackle yet another one. For today's challenge of landing a top 10 Warzone finish, this very budget gaming PC isn't really helping me, to be honest, but with today's very rough PC hardware market, this is a pretty practical build here in 2021, especially if you don't have a whole lot of money to spend. Before we get into that Warzone challenge, I first want to show you what's all inside this very budget and practical gaming PC here for 2021 and show you how it performs outside of Warzone, but all of that after a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by GVG Mall, an online key reseller with our favorite Windows 10 Pro keys. If you're looking to remove that nasty Windows 10 unactivated watermark on your latest gaming PC, head on down to the links in the description. Here you'll find a Windows 10 Pro OEM key for under $17, but we want it cheaper than that. Select buy now and enter the discount code ZTT18 for an exclusive 18% off discount, which drops the price down to just $13. Go through the rest of the purchasing options. I'd recommend PayPal, and within a minute or so, you'll get your Windows 10 Pro key. Now on your PC, click start and type in activation and press enter, choose change product key, paste in your new key, and bang, Windows 10 is now activated. This is my personal way of activating my PCs. Check out my purchased order history here, so grab a Windows 10 key for yourself with the link in the description using discount code ZTT18. Jumping straight into the parts list, everything is linked down in the description, by the way. The first part we have here is the CPU, and this is actually a little bit of a curveball, being the Intel i3-9100. This CPU would in no way be my ultimate #1 recommendation. I actually just had it sitting around collecting dust in the studio, which is why I ultimately used it, but I actually did snag this up originally for just $90 on an Amazon sale, which isn't too terrible. If you are trying to copy this build guide, I would simply just recommend upgrading to an i3-10100 or 10100F. That way you're on a little bit newer of a platform and it'll perform a little bit better. The same thing kind of applies to the motherboard as well. This is the Asus Prime Z390-P, and there aren't too many situations where you would want to pair an expensive Z390 motherboard with a budget i3 processor. I originally bought this for $120 purely for the color scheme. They don't make any good options for a budget white Intel motherboard at this point, so that's why I paid extra, but you may indeed find this one on a used sale or maybe just another similar product. For RAM, this one was a monster deal. This is the Corsair Vengeance LPX 2x8GB kit, and I only paid $30 for this used on a killer Mercari deal. It's only clocked at 2400 megahertz, which wouldn't be good for a Ryzen build obviously, but for an Intel build this will be perfectly fine. Another great deal is of course that EVGA B stock power supply. This time we have another 450 BR, and I paid just $25 for this, and I highly recommend using B stock for any of your budget gaming PC builds or budget gaming PC flips. After that we get to the SSD. This is the Western Digital 500GB SN750 NVMe drive, and although this isn't the cheapest NVMe drive you can find, $65 is actually a really great price for one of the best NVMe options that we have out there. Keep in mind that for a Warzone challenge like today, that alone is going to take up 150 gigabytes or so, so just make sure if you're following this build guide that 500 gigabytes is enough for you. Next up we get to the case, and this is the white and gray version of the Corsair 4000D tempered glass model, and honestly this was just another case of me using what I already had here in the studio. Nothing wrong with this one obviously, but for a super budget build like this, you definitely could have selected a different and cheaper option. Same concept applies to the white and gray cable extensions. To get the maximum price to performance, you definitely don't need to buy something like these, but you guys know at this point that I just can't assemble a computer without using them at this point. This is from a brand called Abno1. Literally never heard of them, but I got these because they specifically match the color scheme of the 4000D absolutely perfectly. And for the last aesthetic only part, we have the CPU cooler. This is just the Be Quiet Dark Rock Slim, which I also already had laying around. For a really budget build like this, I would probably personally just stick with the Intel stock cooler, but that's obviously up to you. And then finally we get to the graphics card, which is obviously a very controversial topic right now, and this is the GTX 960 2GB model, which is a very budget graphics card, and I actually found this used on a local deal for only $60. but that was a long time ago. If you're trying to copy this build, once again, I really can't give any better advice other than to just use whatever budget GPU that you can get your hands on. This system would pair perfectly fine with a whole lot of budget options such as an AMD RX 460 through 480 or a 560 through 580. For NVIDIA, anything like this GTX 960 up to maybe a 980, just go with literally anything that you can find. With that being said, here's what the final parts list is looking like with the prices that I paid for them. This isn't necessarily a repeatable build, as I would indeed recommend that i3 upgrade. You could go with a cheaper motherboard, and then of course that GPU can be replaced with almost anything that you can get your hands on. Before getting into today's Warzone challenge, where I try to land a top 10 finish with this really budget build, I want to quickly rattle off the benchmarks for the other games in case you're like me and really despise playing Warzone. First up, we have Fortnite, and in 1080p with pro settings, not only did I land 171 FPS, but I kept the momentum going from last week's Fortnite challenge and secured yet another dub while benchmarking this game. If anyone is still questioning the Fortnite Gold title, please sit down. Next up was the brand new Outriders. For anyone wondering, I did decide to pick this one up, but honestly, I really only did that so I can continue benchmarking it and progressing through the content a bit, and in 1080p with low settings, this budget PC scored 52 FPS. After that was CSGO, and in 1080p with pro settings, aka pretty much all low settings, I got a very impressive 247 FPS. After that was Valheim, and in 1080p with low settings on the exclusive AF ZTT Discord exclusive server, this PC cranked out 70 frames per second. Rainbow Six Siege followed up after that, and with using the built-in benchmarking tool in 1080p with low settings, I got 171 frames per second. Rogue Company trailed after that with pretty similar results, as I got 146 FPS with 1080p and low settings yet again. To humble this PC down a bit, I fired up the incredibly demanding Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and in 1080p with low settings using the benchmarking tool, I only managed to get 42 FPS. Next up, I ran Borderlands 3, and in 1080p with very low settings, I actually got above the 60 FPS mark with 73. After that, I decided to throw in WoW Classic into the mix, mainly because I want to remind you that I stream over on twitch.tv/SaxTechTurf, and last week I actually hosted a casual AF gaming stream instead of a typical PC building stream, so if you want to come hang out with us while I do some casual gaming like WoW Classic, we'd love to have you over there. For this game, I was actually able to crank out the settings to 1080p and max because this is easier to run, and I got an average of 118 FPS. Valorant was up next, and in 1080p with medium settings, I got 197, and I literally couldn't get one kill while benchmarking without getting a double kill. As you can see here, I went back to back to back to back double kills, and I was just melting people left and right. You do not need an expensive gaming PC to dominate in this title. And finally, before getting to our Warzone challenge, we have a quick 3D Mark time spy run, and this sub $500 gaming PC cranked out a score of 2,497. Now that we know exactly what's inside this gaming PC and how it performs, which isn't that impressive and definitely not confident building, it's now time to see if we both have what it takes to land that top 10 finish in Warzone. I'm not feeling too good about it, to be honest. The mission requirements are simple this week, like I keep saying, but that doesn't mean that this is an easy task, and although I'm named the Fortnite God, Op God, Quadro God, etc., I have exactly 0 Warzone related titles attached to my name, as I literally never play this. This challenge could certainly take a while. I'm not kidding or trying to hustle you when I say I literally never play Warzone. I think the last time was like season 1 when it first launched, so please, whatever you're doing, make sure you have a drink, make sure you're comfortable, and try to enjoy this show.
All right, man, it is time to drop in. Top 10 finish is what we're going for. I am not feeling confident at all. Gonna drop here at military base first. Whew. Let's see if we can do this, man. I don't know what I'm doing in Warzone. Okay, we're on the board. All right. Okay, I'm feeling it now, baby. Let's go. Woo! I was a little nervous about that one. That's a top 12 kill right there, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy. Oh, and that is the signal, ladies and gentlemen. We are already in the top 10 on the very first attempt. Let's see how far we can take it though. Let's go. Oh, there's a top 2 kill. Okay. Oh my god, I got 2nd place. That's not too bad, ladies and gentlemen. Whew! Man, that got my heart pumping. 2nd place on my first Warzone game. Not bad. Not bad, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so after seeing that footage, I realized I didn't actually kill that last dude. I only just downed him, and I got a 3rd place finish instead of 2nd. But either way, I think I did some serious work on the new map, especially for just the first run at Warzone. Hopefully you enjoyed that though. If you're looking for another video to watch, then feel free to click the video that's on the screen now. And that one has a little bit higher price or performance than this one, actually a lot. But either way, I hope you enjoyed this video.